This is my first studio, which a friend of mine gave me, apart from my bedroom, that is. Uh, when I was 19, he gave me this shed to work in. And it's a place where I created the Guinness Hop Store collection. I was in the studio from about the age of 19 to my mid-20s. This is my main studio, and I've basically spent 20 years in this shed. I love when I'm looking at videos of other artists. I love to have a good look in their studio. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you around the studio. Here I have a rack for my plein air paintings, which I tend now only to do really during the summer, to be honest with you. I used to do them during the winter, but I've given up that. That's for hardy bucks. In this corner I dump all my sketches for my life drawing. I love doing life drawing on a Monday in Malahide at the minute. And so I just put them all there. Over here is my table with all my bits and pieces on it. It has ground, it has varnishes and retarders and accelerators, all that sort of stuff. Few bits of paint. I have these tubes that I brought over from England. Whenever I'm mixing a batch of colour that I particularly need to keep, I would mix it up and I'd put them in these tubes. They're handy to have. And then this area here is my trusted turntable for sculpting. I mainly use it for clay, but I've done stone and timber on it. As you can see, it's a very hardy, tough turntable, and it's on wheels, so I can move it around the studio whenever I need it. Then come to my main easel up in this studio anyway. It's a crank easel. It can take very large work, and I've modified it, as is my wont, just to have this kind of table area on it, and I have a glass on it for mixing paints, etc. I added this bit on for, toilet roll, rags, brushes, etc. I'm mainly using the one downstairs, the studio downstairs at the moment, so that's why the studio is actually quite clean. Generally it's far messier than this. This area here is another great work space. It's a very sturdy table, and I again sculpt and do bits and pieces on it. I'm working on a stone carving here at the minute of a curragh in Portuguese limestone, and there's patterns and stuff like that I'm working on there. Over here is my main painter's rack. I built this when I was doing up the studio, and it served me really well. I'd really recommend that if you can have some storage area for a studio, put it in straight away. And behind you, you have another wall that I use for storing paintings that are half finished. They essentially, it's a place where if I'm tired of working on a piece, I can just put them here, let them rest and let me rest. And that way I can come back to them and then carry on. It's amazing if you let work just rest for a while. The next time you come back to it, suddenly you've solved all the issues you needed to solve. It's something I'd recommend. Don't rush to finish a work. Allow it to gestate a bit. Coming back to the wall, this is where I do all my larger work. It's allowed me to paint all the egret paintings. It allowed me to do any large scale work that I have, and it takes anything from about 4 or 5 meter in width. It's great. It's a great space to work with. But as you can see, I had a bit of an issue in the studio with light coming into the studio, and it can be very harsh, particularly during the winter because the sun is low. So I put in this blind, which is very handy, and it's a 2-part blind. It has, on the bottom of it, has a kind of a, I don't know what you call it, a mesh on it, which just softens the light. So you'll see that the light will soften. And then I also have a blackout part on the top section of it that will give me complete balanced light when I pull it right down. And you can see there now, the light is essentially a soft light, more balanced light, and it's easier to work with. That's really it now for this studio. I'll talk to you now in a minute downstairs in the downstairs studio.